How do you feed them?
Dave and Katie Show, episode 6, featuring David Shell, Katie Walker, and Matt.
Hey, do you know this thing says it's recording?
Yep.
Like, I got to be careful what I say.
It's a disclaimer.
Mm, mm.
So, Dave Shell, I hear there's something you want to ask me from the last episode, which last episode, if you didn't catch it, was Dave with insomnia. And we talked a lot about that stuff.
Yeah. And as I said, I don't remember half of it because I was tired. But so this you made a comment. I don't know if it was when it was, but um, we were talking about how you just get so exhausted and everything before you finally fall asleep. And I will say I'm like guess I'm like afraid to go to sleep, because then you lose all control. Um, but getting to the PTSD side of it, so I'm not going to tell you what's going on with me. I want you to. I'm going to ask you this question, and you can either answer it right now or think about it and answer it on the next one. But do you think when you would you say is it developing like PTSD? I mean, how do you word that? You, you, you,
Developing? No. Oh, how do you
how did I get it? Like, what would you say? If I didn't develop it, what did I do? Like, because it's not
I
a
think
typical disease.
it's a
You,
great
you,
question. And I do have an answer to it.
that's not my question though. I was just needing to see how to
Oh,
word it correctly.
okay.
Anyways, so my PTSD. Do you think PTSD? Let's say you're diagnosed with it in say 2020. Do you think in 2022 it can be worse when you're out of that? Let's just say for me, when I in 2022 or whenever it was, I got out of that environment. Do you think it can get worse?
Yeah,
Or do
yeah.
you think you can develop more signs or symptoms or whatever of
Yep. But I think it's yeah, that's a great question. But I think it's faceted, right? So like um to me, trauma, which people call PTSD, a lot of people don't even like to say that in the veteran community, Dave, they don't even say D because they don't think it's a disorder. They don't like the word disorder. They like to say just PTS, post traumatic stress. Whatever. I'm
it?
fine here.
I don't care what you want. If you want to put a D on it or not, at the end of the day,
It sucks.
you have a mental issue. Something's causing your brain not to work
Yeah.
correctly. I don't generally say the word or the four letters. One, because I'm getting to be a little like you, where I don't like the O and G's and the WTS. 'Cause I don't know what they mean half the time. I don't care. I just say I have a mental challenge.
Sure. So here's what I think. I'll draw a picture. Um,
Uh,
I know I like
it's
my pictures.
probably not going to go well.
It is.
No, I've seen your pictures before. Let's just say you're not going to be in no art museum. I can promise you that. Just speaking the truth. Oh
This is what I
wow.
think. I know this is very in depth
Oh. I hate seeing those three words. Hate
because
them.
I think that they are directly associated with PTSD. And let
Oh,
me tell you,
100%.
but let me tell you why. What I think happens with trauma, is it's data, right? It's data that comes in and it's too much at one time. We don't get it in like little tiny, like, Dave, here, I want you to think about this like pen. Like if this pen came and like stabbed you in the hand, what would you do? Right? We don't have time to do that. So like what happens with trauma, it would be like if I had 1,000 of these pencils at one time and they all stabbed you at one time, it would be so much stimulation to the brain that the brain wouldn't have time to process it. So the brain like has this moment. And when it has that moment, it's like it sends off a warning sign, like something just caused threat to your environment. So anytime we have that fight, want to run away, or want to pause, die, fight, flight, freeze, anytime we have those reactions, I think it's because it's too much that happens at one time and we literally can't process it. So what happens is when that data comes in, right, you got this huge stimulation that comes in and the brain doesn't know what to do with it. So it gets stuck, and it gets stuck in the frontal lobe. And your frontal lobe is where your personality is. It's where memories and emotions live together. And unless we can dissect that powerful force that came in and let the brain process it, then it will stay stuck. And that's what I think PTSD is. I think with PTSD, we get overstimulation of something. And then when that data comes in, that experience comes in, whatever else, we get that same response because it's what our brain did before. So
Um,
it's almost like feeding your printer too much paper at one time and it gets jammed. And we got to take the
oh,
paper out and start over again.
okay, so I'm sure you're right on this. Okay. Um,
Break it down.
I'm gonna narrow it down. I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you what has happened to me probably in like the last year. And noises, any noise, any sudden noise. Um, for 20 some years, and even before that is probably, um, it was hear a noise. Try to identify the direction and go towards that direction. Now it's instant fear. I
Mhm.
mean, instant. Um, not the last thing I want to do is go find it. Uh, um, and I don't get that because I mean I've been a hunter. I've in my job you had gunfire stuff like that. I've always been around just sudden noises, um, and they never had that effect. And I still truly in my heart know that if somebody's being hurt, I'm gonna do what's necessary to try to save them, help them. But it's not automatic reaction anymore. It's scared, panic, almost like you're having a panic attack for just that 2 or 3 seconds of processing. You know, and I don't get it because well, let me take that back. I argued with Kate forever about fight or flight. Um, I argued with you about it too, and both of you called me out on the flight that until you broke it down, I didn't believe you. Like I was insulted. I was pissed.
It's
And
exactly the same, but exactly opposite.
yeah, and it there was no question. I didn't physically move, but I was my mind, my brain was out of there. Something had scared the absolute crap out of it, and the brain was gone. The body just couldn't move,
Mhm.
and that was a hard pill to swallow for somebody that it's not that I thought I was invincible. I just didn't care. I was willing to do my job however I had to do it. If that meant uh, getting shot at trying to help a person that I had never met before in my life, that's what you done. That's your job, or I felt like my job was to keep people safe when they didn't even know you were keeping them safe. And I couldn't do my job at the end. And I didn't know it until I got out. Well, I didn't know that there was this flight developing in my brain. So that the reason why I said I'm going to narrow it is because it doesn't take a series of events. It can be just one noise. And I think that's where my main trigger comes from is, I said, if I see it coming, I can breathe and stuff. It's just when you bam, they flip it on right beside me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because think about it. So like, well, and so you can't look at this as just one thing. It's not a one to one. It's like one. There's so many different layers. So when you were a police officer, you had standard protocols, and you also had a team behind you backing you. Now you no longer have that, right? So you knew if you were going in, if you couldn't do it, somebody's probably going to try to do something with it maybe later on, right? So that's a control thing. You don't have as much control then. But two, like and when you hit those, it's like, every time you hear that you hear something, it stimulates, it's a dopamine release. It's like if I go out and I go steal a Corvette, right? I'm gonna get that, like, and that's
Yeah.
what you used to get as a police officer. You would get that rush, right? But now that rush, you're like, no, I'm not, you're not in that situation anymore, but you still have that emotional context with it that's connected. So now what's happening is you get that stimulation, right? So it's like an algorithm almost. It's like you hear that, you get that dopamine release, you're ready to go, but then you have a memory that's associated with that emotional release and it's in your short-term memory. So, so over time, like there are, believe it or not, Dave, there are police officers, there's first responders, and they're able to eventually detach the emotions from the memory. They're so good at like detaching all of that and letting the brain process all that stuff. They don't even remember what it feels like to be a police officer.
Yeah, I believe that 100% because that's I mean that's was me for 20
Six.
19 years. 19 years I didn't. I literally went from one call to the next without thinking
Yep.
about it. Um, so um, I get that, but and you need to I have a team now. I mean honestly I do. I did, yes. I had brothers and sisters that had my back and were willing to do whatever it took to keep me safe. Well, I have that same thing now. The only difference is we can't figure out how to fix it. It's not that you're not trying to figure out how to make life as comfortable as it can be for me while I don't know how exactly to word it, but you know what I'm saying. Like you're trying everything you can, but we're dealing with something that nobody talks about, nobody wants to talk about, and until it's happening to somebody coaching a powerhouse football team or something, and we watch it firsthand, and it kick starts it that way, it's going to be small people trying to fight big people.
Oh, yeah. Well, and here's the other thing too, because I was just on a good call that actually speaks exactly about this, Dave. And I'm working with a team to like put data or not data, put words to what we don't eat. Dave, we don't even have words to this stuff, right? Things that you're feeling, all these really smart people in science and medicine, the terms don't exist. Like literally, it doesn't exist. So when we have, veterans are a very big group right now that are trying to lead this political fight with psychedelics, and the veterans are like, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to tell them that it changed my life. Do you know what that does?
Nobody cares.
Well, it's not
They
that
don't.
they
They
don't care.
don't care.
They'll give you a pat
No,
on
they
the
don't.
but
They don't care.
they can't. It's great that it's helping that veteran, but that is not. It's a square. What is it? A square peg in a round hole. It's great
Yeah.
that that veteran's doing better, but the systems that's created can't hear it because I'm doing better does not match the system. So the system right now is, did it help your depression? Did it help your PTSD? Which scales did you use to show the statistical significance of all of this? So and unless we have that data, the system can't hear it because it's not set up to hear it. And that's the whole piece, as to why we need to talk about these things. But like honestly, Dave, I'm getting to the point now, and it's good that I'm getting to this point. But like we're so dumb. And I'm not meaning that we're ignorant. I'm not meaning not we are ignorant. I'm not meaning that we're stupid. I'm meaning that we as professionals don't know what we're talking about. And we see it, but we can't put words on it yet. So here's an example. And I was actually on the news earlier today talking about this a little bit. And
I'm gonna have to write down some stuff because like you're just like bombarding me, and I've got like but, and by the time you finish, my butts are gone.
well,
I
think
can't
about well,
remember.
listen to this, Dave. Think about this, okay?
Okay, I'm
Think
listening.
about let's get real basic. Think about emotions.
I don't like to.
Wait, hold on. Like let's go back. Let's go back to kids, right? With emotions. So what happens when we have when you were 4 years old, when I was 4 years old, and do you remember like when our parents were like, "Hey, do you know what happiness is? This is happiness. Do you know what
What?
sadness is? This is what sadness looks like." What do we do? Here's what parents do when with little kids that are like 4, they'll say, "You're crying." They're like, "Why are you sad? Why are you angry right now? Why are you?"
See, I was a boy. I didn't get that talk. First of all,
But I think you
second
got,
of
why are
all,
you angry? Why are you angry?
uh, well, I don't know because you hit a very um bad year. 4 years. My father passed away then, and
At
so
4?
yeah. So I, I don't have my most graphic memory is of him in his casket. Um, I think that's when I realized life wasn't fair. Um, and so, but I was a boy. We got told to go back outside if we come in, with a little scrape or we wrecked a dirt bike or something. We as a boy. Um, I truly don't think. I think I pushed. I think my dad's death. Even though I don't remember any of it other than that one particular thing, I think that put me on a track to where I shut everything out. Um, I protected, like I guarded myself. I didn't allow myself to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but too,
No, there's no maybe to it. It did. That's what allowed me to do the job that I did for a long time.
but too,
Because
you maybe didn't want
you,
to be a nuisance to other people.
no, that's the way I am now. Because I know, I dude, I can. Um, I say, people, you, you fought you really struggled on allowing me to fall so far that one time. Put it on, put it on whatever sites you put it on, and then to do the after. Um, they don't. If they watch every one of these, they're going to see the before eventually. Because if you watch me long enough, if you watch me once a week, you're going to see. Would you use the
Ebbs
word
and flows.
digress? Will
Ebbs
you
and flows.
But I finally get to where I can't get the flow going back up,
Hmm.
and it's evident. What you all have done or and I always tried to do is I don't recognize when I first start falling. I recognize when I get triggered, or I recognize when I'm falling so far. But the initial descent, I don't recognize it. I think I'm fine. I argue I'm fine. I've argued with you before that I'm fine, and there that's my team. That's my team. Yeah, my team. She doesn't know. You don't know, Kate. You all don't know maybe all the words, but you know me, and I don't have to have words. I just have to have help. And so like the people that need words just need to get out and talk to people. That's your words. But they don't do that. They hang out with other smart people that their life is hidden behind being perfect, even though they're not.
It's because they don't, but it's not that they don't know. It's not that they choose not to, it's that they don't know how.
That's not true. That's not true.
They're fragmented.
It's a simple thing. It's called treating someone like you want to be treated, and they don't do it. They don't. Most people don't do it. How
No,
many
I don't.
people?
I
Literally, how many people? I made the comment to my neighbor when we shoveled her driveway. Um, that's what neighbors are supposed to do. That's how I was raised. Where that's gone. That is literally gone. People help. People stop on the side of the road and help somebody that was broke down. Now you're fearful if somebody stops behind you.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, because there's evil people in this world, and a majority of this country has never seen those evil people. And they make sure they don't. But what that causes though is a pattern to where now anybody that stops behind you, if there's not lights on, and even then half the time people are like, well, you don't know that's a cop. But if somebody pulls up behind you, they're evil right off the bat. They're gonna
Yeah.
hurt you. They're gonna harm you. What if it's just a 62-year-old farmer that don't know any better but to stop and try to give somebody a ride to the gas station or something? You know, we we need to try to get back to that way.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, but the big thing, I mean, and I won't say it too loud because it might block us, but the number one industry in the world is trafficking. It
Mhm.
surpasses big pharma, Dave. Um,
Yeah, that's a that's a horrible, horrible
and they're
thing.
gonna, they're
And
actually, I just saw, I think it was in Tennessee that they're, or maybe it could be the United States, they're mandating tattoo artists now. It's going to be part of their training to try to identify it. Because, flight attendants, of course, they get it, the training, but tattoo artists are going to have to get the training as well to look at that. But yeah, no, we've lost, right? We've lost kindness. We've objectified everything. People's word is not that. We're very much a very
we live
self-empowered
in,
society.
but we live in fear. I mean,
Yeah.
I wake up in fear. Uh, and I have to look at the surroundings and bring myself down.
Mm.
Um, uh, and I like to think I have a little bit of reason for that. What I need to understand is why is the people out there not struggling with mental health? Why are they living in fear? We can take that back.
Well, but fear, right? And I think maybe Dave, I mean, overall, looking at this stuff, is a lot of people are living a false narrative. And that's on several different levels. Fear is a false narrative. Anxiety is. Social media is a lot of times. Your keyboard warriors attacking each other. Like these are all like not real scenarios. So like when you're out shoveling your neighbor's driveway so she doesn't fall, like that's a real scenario that allows you to like have the solution of fear. and it gives you that connectivity. But I think we're losing that. We're still losing that. Like now, and I was talking to the news guys earlier today. Like, what do you believe on TV now? Do you believe the news?
Oh,
Do
oh
you
no,
fact
no,
check?
because
Like how do
the
we get that back? It
yeah,
wasn't even
and
there. Was it even there in the
they
first place, Dave?
they don't want us to have that. It's the same as I said about that nice little reporter. She had great intentions. I just knew that mainstream media was not going to allow me to be
They're
truthful
not ready for us
on
to.
TV. Well, you know what? The problem is every minute, every second they waste, somebody dies because of it.
I don't. You're right. I don't disagree with that.
I
Yeah.
I I said I said this, and I mean this with all my heart. We got to quit being a group. We got to quit being organizations. We got to be one in order to beat this. I have all the respect in the world for anyone that served in the military. Period. Whether you actually served in combat or not, you are still taking a inherent risk by being employed by the U.S. government in a service that you could be harmed in your daily job. But we got to take all of them and all your first responders and stuff and all your people that live on Main Street, USA, and become one. And we outnumber them at that point. And we can say no.
Yeah. I mean, but
And
that's
that's what it's going to take. And you'd like for it to be your president because he has that power. But Dave Shell doesn't. Katie Walker doesn't.
on Dave. Between the two of us, we got it.
We can't even get Howie Mandel to like get on board with this. I mean, what are you talking about? I hope you see this, Howie. Yeah, I'll be glad to talk to you, buddy.
You know,
But
the other day though, Dave, and this is the piece of it, right? Is there's so much judgment in the world. How do we take away judgment? Because people think they're entitled to judge, and they're not.
well,
Um,
first of all, we judge ourselves. Look,
sure.
you tell me, you're honest with me. You tell me when, hey, you're sounding good, or been a rough week. Well, I
All
look in
your
the
life.
mirror. I look in the mirror every day, and I don't like what I see, and I have to tell myself it's part of getting old. You're gonna lose your hair. You're gonna get gray hair where you had never had hair before. Like your ears want to have more hair than the top of your head, kind of. And I, I got to quit doing that to myself. I don't do it to other people. I truly don't. I truly work very hard not to judge anybody now, and it's a job doing that. I'll admit it. It's a very hard job, but I can't even quit judging myself.
Well, and I think to acknowledge those things as we get older, you think you have to acknowledge them, but then you have to change your viewpoint. And I need to pull this up. I heard it on the radio today. They were talking about neuroscience and how positive intentions actually lead to
I
better.
don't know what radio channel you listen to, but none of mine have the word neuro and science together.
Well, they were saying that like good intentions, like positive intentions actually is helpful for mental health, which yeah, it makes complete sense. But I think as we age, because I'm getting in that sector now too, to where I see changes and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, talking about your droopy eyes where you're like, oh, never mind. Never
Like,
mind.
yeah.
I did hear somebody call you saggy butt the other day, like, you know, so I don't, no, I really didn't. Oh, I shouldn't have said. It's just I'm trying to be a little bit of a comedic.
But
But
you know what
yeah,
the thing I like shift my thing and it's like, you know what? I should be grateful because a lot of people don't get to see the world this long.
I have to when I start that self pity with myself because I do. Um, I know people that would love to be where I'm at. and I know where they're at, and I never want to be where they're at. So I have to tell myself, yeah, it could be so much freaking worse.
How
You know,
how how do you break it? Self-pity.
with a dose of reality.
Well, give
I'm
me
not,
more.
listen, I'm not, like you said, like good intentions. I can't go on good intentions because I've got the best intentions every day I wake up. I have to have action. I have to quit relying on a job that sends me all around this country to get me out of my house. I have to be a big boy and step up and walk outside and get in my vehicle and just, I don't want to say, I don't want to say this, but I got to go to Walmart just to go to Walmart. Right now, if I have to go to Walmart, I know what I'm going to Walmart for. I go in and get it and I get back home. I go to a job site in California right on the beach. I drive to the job site. I come back to the hotel and then I get asked by people, hey, did you get to go to the beach? Nah, I didn't have time. Well, yeah, I did. I never even looked at the beach. I was 2 blocks over and I wouldn't even drive by it because all I wanted to do was get to that safe place, which was a hotel room. That's bull crap. That's my choice. I can make myself not do it. I know I can. But I don't know how for it not to be a long, hard conversation with myself about, hey, take a left here and go down that road to see where it goes.
You know
You know,
and I'll tell you what I think that is. I'll mention it just for a second, but con
don't Google it. Don't go. You Googled it. I saw you.
control
I
versus
saw
out of
you.
control. So when you say
See,
safe, but here's how I think you quantize it, right? Because we can't, like, our brain has to like see steps. Step one leads to step two. Step two leads to step three. If you throw all this stuff at the brain at one time, the brain's in, and you, it's like we can't decipher it, And I think I called you one time. I was in a shooting range, indoor shooting range, and they had big, like, semi-automatic weapons on the right and the left side. I mean, there was just plywood. I'm not sure where I was, but there was plywood in between. Maybe all indoor shooting ranges look like this, but Dave, I had so much stimulation from everything around me. Like I couldn't stop. Like I wasn't scared, but I couldn't stop my hands and like my ears were ringing and I was so nauseated that like I wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. It was like
that's
it was way it was too much, right? I couldn't process all this coming around. So I had to
oh,
step out.
okay. I'm gonna act like I'm doing something professional here, but let me tell you why I came.
Yes,
It's
please.
it's 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 it's. We have 3 words that we like to use in this community.
Mm.
Do you know what those 3 words are?
Not professionally, no.
You should because you just put them up like you drawed it like 10 minutes ago. What did you draw on your paper?
Oh, that's right, Dave.
Yes, you were in flight mode.
I was. I was in sympathetic nervous
Yes.
system.
Okay.
It was
So
too
let
much
me
stimulation at one time.
please don't interrupt the professional right now.
Okay.
You when you were saying that, this is what's odd. Like when you were describing that, like I got jacked up for a minute because like I remember and like it would just fire me up and I wanted to go out and get in the worst possible situation you could get into. Like that was my like give me the spinach from Popeye, you know, to like you are now, and it was like oh crap, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of there, and you can't move,
Yeah.
and so I felt both sides of that, um, and you can't. It happens so fast. You're in it before you even know it.
Yep.
We, we how do we get out of that? How do we not get in it?
Well, right. So
Because that's life, Katie. Like don't everything's coming at you at one time. That
yeah.
is life. Okay, 100%. That is life. There's always something going on around you and it's coming from different angles, and you're quickly trying to process it as junk,
Yep.
start for later, read it now, that kind of stuff. I only know I got to get somewhere where I got time to figure out what's going on. I need that hour, 2 hours, or as in the case when I decided to sell my house, it took me a year to answer my wife and say, okay, we can sell it. It took me a year to agree with it because I
Mhm.
had to wait everything out. And I don't like that. I won't, I just, nothing is natural. Nothing is automatic. Nothing except for, you know, you come at me that you get too close and the wall's going up and we're going to battle
Mhm.
because I still have that. And I think it's a little more free now. Before I had to keep it controlled because I couldn't lose my job. Because if I got in a fight somewhere, um, and got charged or whatever, I would lose my job as a police officer. So you always had that holding you back from ever going through with that action. I don't have that now. And in August in Vegas, I about got in two fights, and I was ready. Like I there's a point in me when, and it's unfortunately tied to anger, when I quit thinking and start reacting.
Yep. But it's a threat, right? So hearing all that stuff, like when data comes in, if our brain's seen it before, we're like, yeah, we've heard that. Yeah, like that light's on behind you right now. Like that's not an atypical light. And it's like you're right. It's process. We've heard it, control. Process, we've heard it, control. Like seen that, done that, seen that. But if it's too
Is
much,
it control? Like I
it's
keep hearing you
control.
say
It's
control.
safe.
Like,
It's safe. It's a safe it's a safe stimulation. It's a safe stimulation that's coming in
but but
because we've seen
but
it.
like you don't think of it as, like, I don't think of
No,
it as control, right? Like,
right.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So when you say safe place, like I always think of control versus out of control. So like when you're out in California traveling and like you go to the job site because you got control of that, that's what you need to do. You go back to the hotel room and you know that so these are your safe spaces, but they're your control, right?
Yes,
They're
that's the
there,
only thing.
you know what to expect, and anything outside of that control that your brain looks at it as being out of control, which could be a threat. So like to try to get yourself out other places whenever you go travel for work, instead of like going to the beach, it's like put it into a scenario that you feel like you could control. So be like, okay, I'm not going to go to the beach because that beach is 10 minutes away and there's so many variable factors that could happen. And I'm already going to be kind of on edge. Instead, let me just drive down, let me for 1 minute or for 2 blocks. And let me just, or go to the Walmart. Like, say if you feel comfortable at Walmart in Greenville, like I'm going to go to the Walmart in California. But,
Oh,
but it's,
I'd rather go to California than Walmart than Greenville Walmart.
but you've got to be able to box it in a way to where there's going to be some fear of a new situation because it's a situation you've not seen before, but it's going to be just enough exposure that you can still get back in control quickly if you need to. Like to go
But
down 2 blocks and then turn around and
but
come back.
uh, and I just say me because you know me. You've seen, you weren't, you were a year off of being with me this whole time. I wasn't your first patient, as you always remind me. But anyways, that hurts my brain trying to do that. It
Yeah.
physically
But
and emotionally exhausts me. Like it drains every bit of energy out of me, making myself even do something that's what really is considered that simple is a big um, play production on Broadway to me.
yeah, it's fear. which is fake,
Yeah.
the false narrative. And that's what I tell myself with fear a lot of times when I'm feeling fearful, because I travel internationally and stuff by myself, and I'm fine with that. But if I get like any type of reservation with things, I'm like, this is fear. It's fake. Fear will not control me. Fear can be very, very paralyzing. But Dave, here's what people do in the mental health space with exactly what you're talking about. This is why people can't get out of their bed. This is why they can't get out of their bedroom. This is why they can't get out of their house. This is why they can't go to the mailbox. And they don't understand why they have like it's pending doom. Like they feel like something so bad is going to happen. And it's because their brain has created a safe space that they feel like they're in control in. And then we isolate to that safe space. And everybody's like, you got to get out. You got to get out. You got to get out. And you can't because you literally feel like you're going to die if you get out of this safe space. Dave, you have a question?
Two things. First, or three things. First, long time listener, first time caller of your show. Love it, love it, love it. Two, when I raise my hand, you got to stop and let me tell it because I forget it 2 seconds later. But the third thing, what you're saying is so true because, like, I when you said the mailbox is when it clicked in my head. It's not that I even think about going to the mailbox because you got to open that front door. Like I don't think about it. That's the whole thing. I don't think about any of it. It's there.
Okay.
I have to physically and mentally drain myself to drive 2 miles down the road, but to stay in my house, I don't even have to think about it. It's already that fear or whatever is a non-thinkable. It's just always there.
Yep. But we have to identify it. And that's the issue, right? Because then when you start putting words onto the fear, we're like, oh, I don't want to even think about the fear. But then when you start putting words on it, it becomes a little bit less fearful. And it's like, huh,
I don't I don't I don't
you don't
right
know how to
now
do that.
I don't know how to and I don't agree with it because when I tried the EMDR the words
That's hard though.
physically made me sick
It's
because I
EMDR
don't
is really
I
good
have
for
so
some
much
people. It's hard.
yes I have so much fear of those words I don't want to hear them because like right now I'm okay I'm in a good space right now today and I don't want those words putting me in that dark space.
Mhm.
So that's my problem. I can't I'm afraid to allow those words to be spoken and give me an opportunity to work through them because the time I did try that, I literally got so I would throw up going home after every session because it just it tilted me so bad. That's why I've always said the thing about ketamine is my body lets me know that I've been in a battle, but my mind doesn't remember it, and therefore I don't come out of it scared to death.
Yep. Well, and I think when you hear those words that you don't want to hear, it's making you have that fight, flight, freeze response. Because if you get sick,
Yeah,
like that's, so that's, and you know what that does? It's taking your control away. It's
where
something
where
that,
is that? Where's that in your brain?
what?
Where is like your fight, flight, freeze syndrome? Where what
No,
part of
I
your
don't know
brain
where
is
your
that?
sympathetic nervous is necessarily.
Well, would you
But
find it,
right
cut it
here is
out?
where your PTSD is.
Well, do you know anybody that could go in there and get it out of it?
Yeah, you don't want that though, because then you're just
Yeah, I
numb.
do.
You're just numb.
Okay, okay. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of letting something that word control my life, and I mean control it.
But your brain sees it as a threat. That's the thing,
Well,
right? It's like
I don't know
then the brain
how.
starts seeing all these threats. And that's what
I
you
don't.
gotta,
I'm not smart enough. I don't have a brain. I like if my brain, what little bit of brain I have, is using it for that right there. I'm pissed off at myself because there ain't enough up there to be wasting its time on that right there. But
You have to think, but listen to this. So our subconscious, right, or our unconscious, or whatever, your gut. We've got senses, right? Taste,
I don't have a gut.
taste. That's
Six
true.
pack.
It's true. But taste, touch, hearing, sight. Um, taste, touch, hearing, sight. There's a fifth one. Smell. Um,
Hey,
when
wait,
any
wait,
of
wait.
those, when
Okay,
any of
wait,
those
wait.
senses,
Taste, taste yummy. Great. There's no, that's not a bad word. Yummy. That's all I think of. Taste is good. What's the next one? Here, here. As
sound,
but I love to hear a train at 1:30 in the morning when it's so peaceful.
sure. But
That
what about
that
the
is
sound?
very
But ambulance,
yes, yes. Yo, let's don't talk about it. And then three, sight. Um,
yeah.
I can't imagine. Even though they cause me all the grief in the world, I can't imagine not being able to see my daughter.
But what right now if all the lights went off in your city? You know?
Would I panic? Absolutely. Would I? Here's the thing, and this is what's caused me to be where I'm at. I would be so scared inside, but with my family, I would make sure that they were calm. I would be trying to just, I would walk outside and see if I could just have any inkling of an idea why that happened, and I would stay calm through that. But to be truthful inside, later on, when let's say the lights come back on, I'm going to be in a bad place. Once I can let that go out of like once I can go, I'm going to be in a bad place.
Like a possum.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I hope you weren't calling me a possum because most people do not consider a possum pretty. Um,
I do. I actually call the possums we have around here pants.
but
They're little baby.
but your that was very accurate description.
Yeah. Well, right. So that's my thing, right? Is like whenever I have a reaction to something, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. One, it's not me having it, right? Because I have reactions to things too. Believe it or not, Dave, I do. But I sit back and I say, okay, what did my brain just do? And it's like being in the shooting range when I had that, overwhelm. Everything was so overwhelming, and I came out and I just said, I couldn't process it. It was stuck. It was like it was right here, and it was so much stimulation. I just couldn't process it. And I had to get to a safe place to where my brain could slow down and be okay and process. But if you put me, have I been into indoor gun range since then? No. Can I go to outdoor? Sure. I can go to outdoor just fine, but it was like the reverberation. But anyway, when we have these things through our senses, I think because here's what we're trying to do, Dave. In situations where we feel out of control, we need to identify things that make us feel in control. So like when trauma therapists talk to you about grounding yourself, they're trying to get you to see things that help you to feel like you're in control. And a lot of this have to do with your senses. It's like taste, touch, throw water in your face, right? That stimulates all these different things. But we if you feel anxious about something, it's like, okay, why am I feeling anxious? What do I feel out of control of right now? Or fear? What do I feel out of control of right now? Why am I feeling fearful? There's actually reasonable data as to why you're feeling that way.
You put failure with that
With what? Why do
the
I feel like a
the
failure?
like you're saying fearful, and I get that, but do you put failure with that too?
No.
Why?
Well, because
Let me say an example today.
you
Got a
tied them
call,
together. I can see why
but
people feel like a failure, but
okay, but like today, I had I was on a job site in Virginia the last couple of days, and something something that in my job wasn't there, and I'm like, let's say hi to Kata.
oh,
Messed it up again. Uh, uh, I don't know where you're at now.
I see you.
Uh,
Kate is
uh, I, 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 uh oh. I don't have voice now.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, I do. Anyways, but so I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I'm not a rocket scientist, but if the good thing about being in law enforcement when I was is you're taught to you cannot take enough pictures. You know, the more pictures you have, you may catch something that nobody thinks nothing about.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it becomes a key piece.
Yeah.
Well, I take good pictures on my chalk sites. And I'm sitting there looking, I'm going, your picture that they showed me and said, yeah, it's here. Well, you can't count how many of this that's missing. You can't count them to see if there's that correct amount there. Well, guess whose picture you can count how many's there? Mine. And like they didn't, they didn't, it's not that they didn't believe me, but they think they're right because, they don't want to be wrong. And I panic because I'm like, okay, if I can't do my job, they're going to get rid of me. And they're telling me I'm wrong on this. And Dave knows he's right because I was physically there and I took pictures. And where there was a issue, I knew I better be right. I better go that three extra steps before I present the problem. And, but I live in constant fear that the failure will cost me my job.
Which is control. So
Everything goes back to control.
it
Where's
does.
control at in your brain?
I don't know, but it all goes back to control because
Gosh
so
almighty,
here's
what are
what
good?
but people try to over control, and that's fear. So when we're trying to think of the worst of the worst of the worst, Dave, we're trying to over control what we have no control of. And we're like, oh, I've already thought about all these negative things. And so we've
We
already
don't
thought
see it
about all
as
these negative
control.
things. So but it is control.
Yeah, I agree. I agree now that you're sitting here keep saying it. I agree. But from like, you don't automatically think that's control.
No, it's not right. Sure, there's very yeah, right. There's very big definition. So what I tell people with mental health is if we're
You're
trying to
crazy.
well, no, I don't say that. I don't believe anybody is. I think there's a pattern to all of it. But
I got
uh,
papers if you ever need to see them.
I think when we're trying to over control things in life because we feel like we're trying to over control because we feel like we're out of control and we're trying to balance that. And that's what's trying to make us feel balanced. So the more that we feel out of control and we're trying to over control everything, like so people who like micromanage people, helicopter parents, like it's we're trying to manage this sense of control, which is balance. So the more that we're
It's
able
safe too, though. It's safe.
to a
You think
point.
you think no, like I'm listening to you. Believe it or not, I'm listening to you, which is extremely hard because the federal government, they decided that they're going to make it almost impossible for me to get my medicine, my ADHD medicine, to where I don't think about everything going on except listening to what you're telling me right then, because I'm going, okay, Kata's barking. It's getting dark outside, because it takes that medicine to make me more focused. And the pharmacist called me and said, we're probably not going to have that for about a year. So,
Control out of control.
but what, what country do I live in? That the government says I probably can't get this for a year. It's medicine. There's a easy. All you have to do is watch me the week before when I'm on it, and 2 weeks later when I haven't been on it, and you can see the difference in me.
Well,
It's
but
not. It's. I'm not taking it for abuse. I'm taking it because it makes me have a better quality day.
it's everybody around. I mean, there's so many different
Oh,
factors.
oh, 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 oh!
No.
I get that, but listen, we're out of time basically. But I need you. I need and which I then forgot. Daggone it. You get me fired up here. I hate the word control, and because I've been involved, not involved, but I worked a lot of domestic violence situations, and it was always a control. 90% of it was control, the control thing, and so I always seen control as that way, and so I
Yeah.
always tried to guard against that. But
But the more
everything you
right,
say makes sense on whether you see it that way or not. That's what it boils down to is control. What can I control and what can I control?
right.
And so my question for you to stew over will be is I get what you're saying about like reprogramming and getting up and your psychiatrist and stuff telling you, okay, well, when you get in that situation, let's think of something that you can take control of quickly
Mhm.
to help you get out of that. I don't want any of that bullcrap. I just want to get up and enjoy life like most people are able to do. And I can't do
Well, and
that
then
right
maybe that's
now.
a good space, right? Is when you
And
wake
I
up.
don't want to think. I don't want to think. I just want it to be natural.
Yeah.
And
And it's
I
gonna be your training. So maybe when you wake up, like you may feel out of control. So it's like, what are things that I have control of, right? Like I know that the shower water is gonna be warm. I know that this is a pencil. Like and Dave, it's just stupid stuff. But I gotta tell you, and I did this. This was a great thing that I just passively did after my brother was killed. I remember my mom picked out this, like, I don't know if I've told you the story, but she picked out a really sad poem for them to read because they dedicated a road to him in Greenville at the racetrack. And so we had to go there and they're going to like read this poem. And it was like horrible, horribly sad.
well, first of all, you've got a little bit of audience from this area, and so I'm gonna. I, she was not offending you all. It was Greene County. Recognize that's not Greenville. It was Greene County. Do not upset the Greene Countyans that might watch this. The racetrack was in Greene County.
Oh, that's
Um,
Greenville.
no,
That's
it's not Greenville.
it's Green
No,
County. I don't, is it
Greene
still there?
County. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So they went to do this poem. And I just knew I was like, I do not. There was so many people around, and you always got the spotlight on you. I was like 14 or something, and so I knew I was like, I'm not losing. I'm not going to lose my crap over this. And so I remember there was a tree, and there was a bird, and there was a
Did
bird
it
on the
again.
tree. So what I did, and this is, it's a type of disassociation, but it was actually really, really good. But when they started reading that poem, I was like, I'm gonna focus on this bird. So I went and I thought about that bird, and I thought about all of its feathers, how many feathers it had, like how big its little feet were. I wonder how old it is. I wonder if it has any. And I went through this like whole bird like scenario. And I
You
did
know what
that.
the poem says though?
No, no clue. I do.
Okay, good.
She let me read it, right? She let me read it beforehand. So I knew what was going to be said. And I was like, nope, not participating in that. So I went
But
to,
that's good. You don't remember what it like. I would have probably been listening to it, even though I was trying to distract
I
myself.
was full bird mode.
Yeah,
And, so, but once they stopped, once the volume changed, then I came back and was
come
listening.
back into it.
Right. But one thing I tell people, because, with fear comes ruminating thoughts. And ruminating thoughts is what you have.
Oh,
They,
real quick. Yeah, because I thought of this on the way home today. Um, can and this can be for next term because I want you to finish that. But the disassociation, I do that with ketamine. That's it happens. Can we cause that to happen in the blink of an eye out here now?
yep.
Okay, I
We should
want to
talk
get in.
about disassociation next time.
Yeah, next time. But go ahead and finish that. But when I heard you say that, that reminded me
Yep.
of that because I went today from like it could be anything. Like I literally I was almost 100 miles down the road and didn't realize. Like it just like I was somewhere else. you
Yeah.
know, and then a fire
Driving, you
truck,
mean?
yeah, a fire truck brought me out of it.
Oh,
Like, you know, and it scared me because I was like, what? Where? I got scared because I mean, I had to be driving okay. I made it home, but like, I don't remember that
oh, and
time.
that, but that's also your default mode network. So there's disassociation. We can do that next time. We can talk about disassociation versus.
Yeah, finish your story because there's a lot of strength in the fact that uh, 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 there was there's a lot of things you had to battle uh, from that death.
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
know,
Yeah, but the thing about it, right, is like when I was in that situation, I knew that that poem was going to potentially cause me to lose my
be
crap,
be a redneck
be a
from
redneck, right?
Irving. Yeah, the
Uh,
one that evidently stole a Corvette at some time in her life because she seemed to act like she knew what she was talking about.
so in that situation that I knew I didn't want to face, I focused on what I could have control with. And
Could you have done that though if you didn't know about the poem ahead of time?
no, well, no, probably not. Yeah, because I wouldn't have, I would have went down that road listening, and
Do
if
you know how to do that now?
yeah, but here's what I teach people, right? Is if you're ruminating and you have this fear, like if you have
What's
all
ruminating?
ruminating is constantly thinking about something that you can't stop thinking about.
Letting it stew.
That's right. It's stewing. Yeah. So it's like not dropping a subject. So what I tell people, Dave, because that's an abstract thought, right? It's just a thought. It's not real. It doesn't exist, but it's in our brain and it's torturing us and it's torturing us and it's torturing us. So like, if that's like artsy fartsy over here, and then let's go to Mr. Engineer World who can't have a creative thought at all, right? So if you're ruminating and fear and like, self-pity and all these negative thoughts that you just can't stop, you've got to train your brain on how to stop it. So like I'll tell people, and I'm sure I probably told you about this before, but like I'll tell
No, you
people
haven't.
to find an object that has no emotions to it at
Oh, you
all
have.
and focus on it and it'd be like I'm going to give you the task of I need you to build this pencil. So it's like, why did they build why did they make this pencil, 4.5 inches? Why is it green and pink? Why did they do the eraser that way? Why did they make the lead like this? But it's really like to where you can take yourself out of that emotional fear loop and start thinking about something that's tangible, that's in your control. And and another thing we can talk about too, Dave, you have you look at control the same way that I look at being a victim. And I don't know if you remember this conversation a long time ago because you kept calling me a victim of domestic violence. And I was like, I am not a victim. And you're like, yes, you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, you are.
It's a
You were.
crime against this. And so
Yeah.
when I see victim, I'm like, I'm not a victim. And this is the way a lot of people look at being a victim, but you're like, no, it was a crime that was committed against you. You are the victim. It's exactly the way you look at control.
It's the same as me. My only option being disability, and I'm going. I'm not disabled.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not. Disability is for people that truly are disabled. You need to come up with a better way of dealing with me because I have mental issues. I'm not disabled.
Yeah.
I just struggle living in this world, and that's how you need to look at it. And you need to figure out how to help me. I can't do it by myself. I've got to have help, and I've got to have people willing to allow people to provide that help.
And we have to have people who are willing to listen and to not turn people away, to not expect that we have all the answers on
Mm,
that because we don't, and then learn to put it on paper to where it makes sense.
and not what's that word? Judge that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The we judge ourselves enough. We don't need other people judging us. Um, but that I mean, that's so cool you brought that up. I actually remember that because that anytime there's anger involved in it, it seems like it's something that sticks with me. Um,
Oh, about
because
me being a victim?
yeah, because I
When you
remember
say
how
control,
I
it's
got
because
angry at you because you weren't willing to accept that you were a victim.
right. But what I'm saying is I put my own definition, my own emotions around the word victim, and I looked at victim as a weakness. And then you're looking at control as to where you have your own emotions and your own definition around control. But I'm like, no, it's control. Like it's like completely a neutral word to me. I'm like, control safety. Like control is like me picking up this cup. I'm in control of the cup, but you see
And
control as being a negative thing, which a lot of people do. Yeah, when we're trying to control things out of our control, it's a power struggle a lot of times. And that's how you saw it.
well, I mean, you take those just take law enforcement, or you can take military. When you're sending in to gain control of the situation, it's not that you're by when if we went to control a crowd, we went to make the crowd safe. We
Mhm.
tried to keep everybody safe. The word is control, but that's not the mentality. Well, it's not the mentality 90% of the time. The mentality is keep everybody safe.
Mhm.
We have to keep everybody safe. It's not control. I can't control a person from wanting to kill somebody. If they want to kill somebody, they're going to kill them. They're going to find a way. You can't control that. Um, so control, in all honesty, there's, I get this. You have very little control over anything in life, and that's okay. It truly is okay. The problem is I don't know how to. I don't I don't want to have little post-it notes and stuff to get to keep me from getting that mentality. I just want it to be natural. I want it to be like it used to be
And it
in
will
that
get
aspect.
right, and it will get there eventually, but you have to start with the small things and those grow.
We got to, your book. I'm on like page 7 because I asked you nicely to make one for dummies. I said if you'll do like they do in
I'm
college,
impressed. You're on
and
page
and
7. You're
and
reading it.
and, but if you would put like one out like they do in college, like math for dummies, to where that I would be done with it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The
I was
hard thing
actually
about
talking to
that
a
book.
physician the other day, and he said that he's like the 68 pages is the most dense material out. He's like, it's written really well. It's just a lot of material in 68 pages.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The thing is, it's not an overwhelming amount of pages to read,
Right.
but the stuff in on the pages, like it make it takes my focus away because I I I, I read something that if I do understand it, then I try to figure it out in my life,
Yep.
and
That's the
and and
intention.
and and
One
then what
sentence that you
happens?
can apply to yourself, and you're like, huh,
Right, but then I don't go back to the book for like 10 days
right.
because and that's why I said they can't take my medicine away from me because that's the only thing that But that's what I'm saying. Through all like, there's so many things that here's the control word again. I can't control it all. Like it's all new to me, and then and this is where the self pity is, and then all of a sudden you come in and you tell me the one medicine that I know makes a big difference in my days I can't get, then every time I take a step forward, something, some big corporation causes me to take 2 steps back, and you get tired of doing the shuffle.
Yeah. No, I have no doubt. I mean, life's not easy.
Yeah, and it's not. That's the thing. It's not easy for anybody.
Mhm.
Whether you have what you consider a perfect life, or you live paycheck to paycheck, day to day, week to week, all that. But uh, like you. It's like when scientists, which I'm not one, it's very evident that I'm not one, but when they have a breakthrough on something, I can't imagine that adrenaline rush they get. Well, imagine me when I take that medicine, I get a little adrenaline rush because I become focused, like my mind's not.
I'm back.
Yeah, and then you take it away like it's nothing because there's a little argument going over something between big companies, and they don't care about the person sitting in their room in a ball trying to figure out whether they want to live to see tomorrow.
Hmm.
And that's what's effed up in this world.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we have to change. That's what we're working on is
But we got to say something. I already hate that word change. Change and control. They're both evil words to me because they're dang near impossible. It's impossible to
well,
get
you
change.
got
And
you
it's
got it.
impossible to keep control.
Yeah, and you got to dumb it down, man. You got to get down to the lowest, most simple thing that
Well,
like
first of all, there ain't nobody got to. I don't have to go anywhere to dumb it down. Okay, all I got to do is open my mouth and talk.
I mean, like Dave, I've been so broke with this company before that like I was like, do I have enough money to get gas today?
Well, first of all, let's not sugarcoat it. That right there, you stay that way the majority of the time
It's true.
because you
But
you keep rolling your money back into that business to
right.
keep it open another month.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, and you help people when when they need it.
yeah. But that's a big piece is trying to figure out like what are those basic things. And sometimes it's like, do I have food? Do I have water? And I do, do you have love? And that's the one thing, right? Is there is
Yeah, but
love.
you
There is love in the world. And it exists.
oh 100%.
And
But
that's
you're
what
not
we're trying to
guaranteed
do.
food tomorrow.
No, you're not, but
You
that's
know,
we forget.
and the only thing you're guaranteed, and you should be guaranteed this is love because there's nothing else you should love yourself. But
Mhm.
nothing else in life is guaranteed. And I where would I be if you closed your doors tomorrow? How long would I be in this world? How long would I be in this chair?
Right.
How
Um,
long? I can tell you how long. I wouldn't be here a year.
that's
I I I I, I'm not. I I hate to I hate to. Heavens forbid if I shock someone's conscience out there because I say I unfortunately only trust so many people, and I'm not freely going to go into a brand new place by myself and be put on IV to where I cannot protect myself.
yeah,
So therefore,
out of
I'm
control.
I'm not going to be. No, I don't call that out of control. I call that safe. Like it's just I've always tried. You told me, or maybe Kate told me. One of you all told me. I always thought when I got out of law enforcement, at some point I would quit worrying about where I sat at the table when we went out to eat or something.
Oh,
I quit worrying about putting my, because it's a safety thing, and
mhm.
that's what that right there is for me. It's not about um if my mom was in the room with me, I would feel safe. But let's be honest, my mom's not going to be able to keep somebody from hurting me.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah,
But I took what I think is the necessary precautions to make it as safe as possible for me. I do have a understanding that it's 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 only safe to a certain extent, but I am not now or ever going to just walk into a certified or whatever ketamine clinic and let anybody stick a needle in my arm.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I don't value my life enough to be willing to do that. And I say that meaning that without that, without ketamine right now, I I know how I function. I know how I function when I get bad, and if that gets taken away where I don't have that available to go to, then um, I, I know where hell is. I know where it's at, and that's where my mind will go to. And if I don't have something to help slow everything down to let me catch up, then I'm gonna harm myself
Yep.
because I don't want to live that way.
Yeah. No.
I will never live that way again. Never. And
Yeah.
and thank God I know the difference in them. Thank God that I did find uh revivalist in 2018 and be the second patient there. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't have made it that year. There's no way. I might have because I didn't have that doom and gloom look. I thought that I still had hope.
Yeah. Well,
I'm running.
stared at me for
And
a
I
long
told you,
time.
yeah, but yeah. See, you know, how hard it was for me that first day, and then you learn how extremely hard it was for me that first day because it took me for I like there was a huge filling out process where I didn't have a choice but to trust you, but I was just still figuring out why I should trust you. And the whole time you were just sitting there, slumped back, slouched down, like you'd known me for 20 years. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know if she didn't take a ball back to my freaking head while I was in another world here a minute. And that's why I always tell people whenever they say something and I'm down there, I'm like, yeah, Katie beats me up. She always does it. She waits till the clinic's closed and I do a ketamine, and then she beats the crap out of me and gets all that frustration out on
I say
me.
stop whining.
Yeah, so like there's so many, you know this. There's so everybody dealing with mental health is different in their own way. They have a lot of the same symptoms and everything, but we're different. And you, your clinic has to be able to deal with every individual that comes in there and their quirks. What does Revitalist let me do? They give me a little bit of control over what room I go into because I have issues with that. Okay,
Mhm.
so we take care of that quirk. Then we make sure that somebody's there that I trust. So you take care of that quirk. Well, what about the next person comes in? I hope they got quirks like I do. You know what I'm saying? And how many truly places are out like that out in the United States that people have access to?
Uh, Maybe not many. I mean, that's the whole reason Revitalist was not created to that sector, but yeah,
No, Revitalist was created to help
it was
people
created
in
to
the
help.
area that it was in, and it realized real quick there's a need for this across the United States,
Right.
and
To
that's what you're
advocate for
trying
the
to do.
person. Right. That's the
Yes,
piece. Yeah. Yeah. Is to make it
yeah,
not them and not Dave, this is how I'm going to help you. It's Dave, what do you want help with and how can I help you? There's a difference.
and in that, knowing full well that I can only that my dreams is not reality on how you can help me, but giving me the opportunity to have that little bit of dream while you inject a little bit of reality in at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I love that.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
What's your
Wait a minute. I'll let you if you want to use that. You can. And let me ask you this, because you were bragging about being on the TV today.
Yes.
How many people have sent you a text or called and said, "I saw you on TV," and you're like, you did?" And they're like, "Yeah, you was just on TV," and I'm like, "Well, do you want my autograph?" Because evidently, there's been I don't know, I'm not seeing it, because I don't watch.
Oh, with me and you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no clue what they're talking about because I have to. I can,
That's
if you let me watch the news or get me on social media for any amount of time, I get wrapped up and I get angry.
WJHL has our your police thing.
Okay, okay. So did anybody call you today and say I saw you on TV? So who's the star, baby? Right here.
It's true. Right.
All right. We
Right.
went over 30 minutes. I hope so. I hope one person wants this and it makes a difference for them. That's all I need.
That's all we need. And
Yeah, one at a time.
this time I'm gonna make my little list. It took a little longer last time, but I'm gonna make a little list about 5 things to tell yourself about fear.
I am working on that.
My little documents, they're pretty in depth. But you know what's interesting, Dave? There's no data out there that tells you how to wake up.
Yeah.
There's really not. Like it doesn't exist, right? This is why we're having these good conversations because I had to like go through and I was looking at, and it doesn't tell you things to help you go to sleep. Like it doesn't give you those specifics. It's like here's sleep meditation, but it's like it doesn't tell you like do this first and then do this and then like I had to make those things up based on things I saw.
Yeah. And your way is probably better than my way of completing or completely being exhausted to where you can't
Yeah.
stay awake. So what's that do? That automatically puts you in a harder position when you wake up to be.
Because you're blacked out. You're not resting. Right.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like, oh, I'm kind of tired. Let me just lay here and rest my eyes and then I'll wake up in a minute. It's like, no, you're blacked out. Yeah.
yeah, because you never caught your breath. You fought the whole day until you passed out. Whereas you're suggesting, hey, for 30 minutes, let's. Now my thing is, I'm a good excuse person. Well, I was out of town for three days. My routine's not going to be normal because you're traveling, but it's got to become normal.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not hard
it's
to
like just
do.
it's like at nighttime, just like decrease the lighting. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's not hard to do.
so
Everything you suggested or recommended, it's not hard to do. It doesn't cost money.
right.
It doesn't cost you going anywhere. You could literally sit where you're at and do it before you try to go to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um. If
Until
you
next
need to,
week. Lucky
yeah,
episode 7.
yeah. I guess we'll do that. If we do that one before next Friday, I guess we'll I'll be in another state. Uh, I might need that talk. I might need to be brought back to reality.
I'll be in another country, so bring it
Well, then
on.
we don't need to do it.
Oh no, it still work. Um,
I'm going to be in Vegas.
I'm gonna be in Puerto Rico.
You're probably not going to lose as much money as me in Puerto Rico.
No, I'm hoping to actually. I'm going to investor conference. I'm hoping to
Yeah, well,
not lose.
if you want an investor, come out and put your hand in front of the slot
No, I
machine.
need investors.
Uh,
Hey, we're changing the world. We need people behind us. Let's
well,
go.
I get that, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you'll put your hand in front of the slot machine thing where it takes my money, there's some investment right there because they're going to take it. You might as well go ahead and grab it. Ain't like I'm winning.
Here, Dave, I got you a new hotel room. It's right down.
Yeah, I wasn't when we were talking beforehand. I wasn't talking about winning money. I was talking about getting credits for my tier status because I don't win. I
You're still
probably just
winning
need to.
though.
I just need to send them a check every year. So this should cover for me to be a diamond member this year. Here you go. Thank you. So all right. Hey, so when you leave,
Tuesday.
will you be safe? I'll leave Sunday. Um, so if you don't hear from me again, I got lost in Vegas,
How
which
long
is
you
not
gone?
gonna come on out there 4 days. Last year I
You
think I
come
was
back
out
on
there.
Thursday?
Yeah, I think I was gone seven, or I was in Vegas 7 or 8 times last year for work and losing money both. Like I didn't. I actually, when I went out for work, I didn't gamble. First, I don't know how I made it 2 days in Vegas, and I never gambled, not one quarter. It wasn't easy, but so like Vegas is finally on my stimulation level has come down to where I don't just automatically like a kid in a candy store, you
Yeah.
know. And actually, I enjoy like I Vegas. I don't care to drive around in Vegas. Like a lot of people hate it. I don't hate it. I don't hate driving in California. I despise Seattle. Like I get behind the wheel and I'm shaking in Seattle. It's horrible. So yeah. Anyways, be safe. You know all you had to do is holler. Um, there's only like 3 or 4 people in this world that I don't care if I hadn't walked out of my bedroom in a week. If he called, I'd be there.
Oh,
So
thank you.
all right.
You never know. I might have a ketamine clinic down in Puerto Rico next week.
I can't afford
The way I
Puerto
roll.
Rico. You might though. You're right. All right. Be safe. Thank you, everybody. I hope somebody stayed around and found some value
Thank you.
today.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
So we're on it. I'll post this one sooner than I did the other one. Have a good
Okay.
night. Have a good
You
Friday
you too. Bye.
night. Okay, bye, Dave.